When you log in to PSA Web, you're directed to the job lookup screen. Every person with a login can define this screen to suit their own needs. As you see on my screen, I have a column that shows me my estimated revenue. I've chosen to have the stage and some dates. Because there's filters at the top of each of these columns, I can use those to reduce my list or find specific pieces of information. So if we look at this screen initially, you see that we've got two jobs here that do not have an estimated revenue. Rule breaker number one. I recommend that you set the standard. Your jobs cannot have zero. If it's an internal shop unbillable type job or a charitable job, have your staff enter $1 so you know that that job has not been missed. The only stage that I can accept a zero in is if the lead has just come in and the stage is sitting at received. That's it. Everything else needs a value. Again, if it's received more than a couple of hours and there's still a zero there, I would be asking questions. The only time that you would allow more than a couple of hours for somebody to hit the ground would be if it's a repair or another file attached to perhaps an emergency or mitigation. That may let you look at it and say, I'll give them a day to give me an idea of what that is. Every job needs a financial plan. Let's go into a job. And I've got some tabs open here at the top. When you look at the top of my screen, you can have many things open so that it's very easy to click around. The easiest way to do that is use your right mouse. If I want to open a job, I can use my right mouse key on the edit button and open the link in a new tab, which is what I've done. Okay. As I said, we want responsible parties. So from the relationships tab, I can add any of my staff here. By selecting the different contact methods here, I can select outside as well. Moving up to the menu that says jobs, I can slide down to work orders. Every job that is created in PSA Web will have a default work order. As soon as someone has gone out and set foot on the property, we need an initial assessment value. Coming to the work order, I have a blue Add Plus button. Selecting it gives me this blank line here. One left mouse click in the description field is going to open up the drop-down. And I recommend you call it initial assessment, something that's meaningful so you can identify that this is the initial best guess, guesstimate, whatever terminology that you like to use. I'm simply going to put in my instinct value here. This is a placeholder. I'm not breaking it down. I'm just getting a number in here. And I have an expectation of 25% on this margin. Using my tab key or clicking somewhere else now retains the value I put in and assigns a basic, simple budget. At this point, that's all you need. Depending on the size of your company, you may simply just continue to update this value, or at some point you may import an Xactimate estimate and remove this work order. But it's important to get that initial assessment. Keep it in round numbers so that you can look at your reports and your screens and know that it is an initial assessment or an actual sold price. You must hit the save button. You will get the banner that says that it was saved. Okay. If we come back to that jobs menu when I have a job open and come down to financials, you can see, and I'm in the wrong job. I apologize. We can just jump back here, go to financials when it updates, and here you see the information that I just entered into this job. It's not fancy, but it's quick. Anybody pulling reports now can see what's coming down your pipeline. It also gives you a measurement tool to monitor costs as you're increasing them and posting them. You will be able to see the difference and monitor that. I'm going to switch to this job and let's take a look at the financials. So here I've got some inputs. Not only do I have my basic estimate, very simple from the work order, but I also now have costs in my actual column. Summary. You see that we have spent $7,400 on this job. I'm only showing $4,000 in invoicing. The current gross margin is a significant loss. That would be expected. When I want to look at the details, I can move between these tabs at the top. If I want to look in detail at the invoicing, I select it and I can, let me just do a quick refresh. And my job jumped on me, so that's fine. I think I have too many tabs open and I'm creating a conflict for myself. So I'll just do it manually. So here you see I have an invoice and I also have a credit memo. All right. It's really important to pay attention to the top right corner of this screen. I have a filtered total. What that means is it's this column here. I also have a job amount due. So if I was to say I wanted to look at my credit memo, starting to type into my field is going to reduce my list as soon as it loads. Let's try another one. We'll go over here to this one. There we are. So because I've reduced my list, notice that top right, my filtered total matches my job amount due. If I change this filter, here, my filtered total matches my total column, but I still maintain the amount that's due on my job. I believe Our production teams are all responsible to help us collect our money. If they're going to be on site and they see that a deductible invoice hasn't been paid yet, they need to ask for that. This gives them that information on the fly on screen. Moving to our cost tab, everything is recorded here. So you're going to get a lot of items here. The total at the top is what you're showing on your screen. If I want to strip it down, maybe I want to see what I have charged for a sub. Again, using my filter, the total is going to change to match the filtered items. Okay. So here are some financial tools within the job. Let's take a quick look at one of my favorite reports, and I've preloaded this to save some time. Job Management Active Report. Okay. Keep that word in mind. Active means it's not completed yet. As soon as a job is marked complete with a date complete or production closed date, that's the signal that really what is. So we want to manage our jobs before that. Once we get those dates, they're going to fall off this report because we're pretty much pooched. Let's read this report together. Okay. One of the first things that we want to do is ensure that our jobs are sitting in the correct stage. So they're grouped and they're triggered by dates. So we have a received grouping, we have a scoped. So if I'm using this in my production meetings, the first thing I'm going to do, if it's scoped, I require an estimated revenue. Mandatory for your company. As I showed you with a couple of clicks and a few seconds of time, I can also attach my margin so that I get an estimated cost. When a job is being looked at, it is mandatory that those numbers are in there. We have a sales grouping or stage, if you will. In my mind, that's when the work authorization is signed. I can have an adjuster approval, but until my policy holder or someone has signed the work authorization, I have no guarantee of payment. That's the true sale, if you will. Again, this job is missing date inputs. The reason I know that is I've spent $9,700 on it. That's a signal it should be in WIP or work in process. So we need to ensure our production teams are putting in valid, timely inputs, dates, and values so that we can utilize this report. I'm also going to manage and monitor my cost column to my estimated cost. If I see that I have spent half of the planned budget for a job, my production team better tell me they're more than half done because there's probably some costs in the mail. If I determine that I've got an issue on a job before it's complete, I have an opportunity to mitigate some of that damage. So this is one of my key reports. I use this a lot. One of the other tools that we have inside of PSA Web, and I'm just going to open this up, is our smart reporting. One of my favorites is a red flag report. It's going to list what I've spent on a job. It's going to tell me what I'm expecting to receive for the margin. It's going to tell me what I should be planning for revenue. And it's going to give me that estimated revenue number that comes from that work order. Anytime the system calculates a revenue value that is higher than what is in the estimated revenue value, I'm going to get a red flag difference. And that's going to happen at $1. You see, we've got some filters up here. So I can target PMs or PMAs, estimators, or job types. To me, I'm going to be targeting my repair. I'm going to monitor that sucker all of the time. Clicking on a filter is going to reduce my list. When you've made a selection, it's going to be in yellow. Clicking again will take it off, and it's thinking. Holding my control key down and clicking will allow me to have multiple selections. So it's going to open with everything, and you can click and reduce that to your needs. Another one of my favorite smart reports, my estimated cost versus actual cost. Again, I've got job types, I've got job names, PMs, or referrals, all available. When I open this, I can put in a date range filter. You see up here, I can also change it if I like. But it's giving me my estimated cost. That comes from that budget number. And it also gives me what I've posted to the job. So when I see negatives, tells me I'm going over my planned budget. So it's critical that we train our staffs how to quickly update those work orders. Add line items for change orders, increase sales, reductions. If a homeowner chooses to do their own painting, they're going to get a credit for that from the original scope. A lot of times they'll use it to pay their deductible, as an example. But every time something changes on the job, realistically, there's a financial impact. So that work order screen needs to show that so that you can use these reports then to monitor and target the specific red flags or jobs that potentially are in trouble. So you can monitor what you're spending versus what the plan was. As well, we have another one. Let's look at the revenue side. Again, we get a lot of filters that we can play with. We see what we've invoiced, what the plan is, and we get a difference here. If the difference is positive, it means you've invoiced more. So that's a concern, in my opinion. At the end of a job, if you invoice more than the plan, where was the breakdown on recording the plan in the job? Everybody needs to know what the pipeline is. So if those numbers are not reliable, it's a crapshoot. And you're going to get to the end of the job and somebody's going to say, well, it went south. And you have no opportunity to jump in and help. Some of that can simply be training, but it is critical that we create production teams. I don't expect estimators to spend their life at the desk. Production managers, the same. They need to be on the field. They need to be selling jobs. They need to be producing jobs. Utilizing the web with an internet connection, they can take 10 seconds after they walk the job and fire in a number. With PSA Web and internet connections, you're taking away the pushback. As I said, you can make this as simple or as complicated as you like. Every job comes with a default work order. You can quickly throw in the value. You can reuse that work order if you want to start using the calendar for scheduling. As long as you maintain the changes in this work order, adding items as they change, it will keep updating the value. You can have multiple work orders. The bottom of this screen on the left-hand side is going to give you the job values. The right-hand side will give you the individual work order value. When you have a work order highlighted, and you'll know which one it is by this number here, you can continue to add lines. Or if you want to change an initial value, you can just simply click on it, make your change, hit save, you're done. This doesn't have to be an addition to staff to manage this. It's a mindset, um, quite honestly, for some companies to have this a requirement from your front end crew. I am going to go to the chat box, so please add any questions that you might have. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's the beginning of your day. To to change that job lookup screen, I'll show you real quick. Very, very straightforward. Under settings, everyone has user settings. Slide down to jobs, and there is a configure job lookup column here. When you select that link, you get all of the fields that are available. You have a maximum of 12. So if you have 12 selections and you try to add the 13th, you're going to get a banner that says you can't. So look at it and determine what is the quick items that you need. So if I go back to my screen, personally, I want my primary responsible person listed. I need an estimated revenue. Whether or not you want stage, that's certainly your choice. And I like to have a few dates. I want to monitor my complete date to when they invoiced. Personally, I don't see any reason why 5 days max after a job is complete, there shouldn't be an invoice. Each column has sorting ascending and descending arrows to help you with that, as well as the filters. George, thank you for joining us. Okay, the reason the job amount due of $56.50 is different, okay, because of this credit. So in our accounting, we issued a credit memo for work they were doing. Then we cut them a check. So that's why it's showing paid. Okay. Again, George, um, an audit trail for showing changes to the work orders. Um, so when you're on a work order, most screens will have this audit leaf. So again, here you can tell when it was created and when it was updated. In this case, you see it was updated by sync system. That means there was activity in the desktop accounting side that flowed through here. A specific report, not at this time, but that is something that we are developing. Kevin, the smart reporting menu is a license through our admin office, and simply sending off an email to support will get you that, and it's quite an amazing tool. I'm in. Let me switch my screens here, and I'm going to go back to list. Bear with me, this is my demo, so it's a little bit junky, but there are a lot of different reports here. There is built-in reports that you can't change. However, you can copy them so that you can adjust them to meet your own needs. But there is a lot here that you can tweak. There is also training on how you can tweak them for something for yourself. Adding items or um, taking away items, that kind of thing. Some of the reports will have graphs if you like pictures and all of that. Hopefully that, okay. Um, Hopefully that helped you, Kevin and Claudia. And I have someone I'm not familiar with. Thank you for joining us. How do you delete a job in desktop? You don't, first of all. You can complete it. You can close it. You can merge it if by accident you created the same one twice. Um, that would be fine. Um, there are ways to purge a job in the desktop, and I would suggest that that's a pretty ticklish thing. If you purge, then you can't get it back unless you're retrieving from a backup. I would invite you send an email into our support team, support at canamsys.com. They'll be happy to get a trainer to reach out to you and work through your individual need. Any more questions? George is asking, is there a smart report that can show projected costs? So that's posted plus the balance of open work orders to see if you will meet the gross margin. I believe there is, George. I'm just not getting the name of the report off the top of my head. Um, I do believe there is, and if I'm incorrect, we can get one. The built-in reports are typically requests from customers when they have a need, and it's a great idea. We build it and bring it out. But I do think that one is there. Anybody that has further questions after I close the meeting, again, pop off an email if you like to support, and they will forward it to the training team. Reach out by telephone to our support center, which is 866 992 2626. Option number 2 is going to get you to a live person, and they will be happy to take your questions and information and forward that to the training team as well. I want to thank you all for joining today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.